This week, we're back. UFC 276, Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. And we're back in Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. And we have a stacked card tonight. So we're going to go in an in-depth breakdown of who we think is going to win, who's going to lose, what's going to happen in the future. And we're going to give you our predictions going forward. So let's get right into it. Israel Adesanya. Four-time defending champ versus Jared Cannonier.
People writing me off probably because you don't know me, because I don't run my mouth. I don't use my mouth to let people know how I fight. You're going to have to watch me to know how I do my thing.
Number 2 ranked middleweight. How is this going to play out? This is going to play out nice and simple. We have Jared Cannonier, who just beat Derek Brunson, which was a great fight for him. They got to settle that shit, that little beef that they had. He came out with a nice TKO finish, so that's why he's getting the step against the champ, the reigning defending, Israel style better Adesanya. He's 22-1. He has not lost to anyone in the middleweight division. His only loss was to the former champ, Jan Blachowicz, at light heavyweight, which you obviously seen. That size did matter. It was a little bit too much power, and he didn't even come to 205. He didn't even try to make the weight. He came in like very nonchalant. Still big respect for taking that fight. Not a lot of people would go against the Polish power. Jared Cannonier, as you know, he was a former heavyweight. Didn't do so well. Dropped down to light heavyweight. Looked okay, but obviously, as you can see, middleweight, he is in his best form. Jared Cannonier is in his best shape when he fights at middleweight. He's explosive, knockout power, and you cannot trade with him. This is not the guy that you want to trade punches. He, in my opinion, is the most explosive middleweight, strength-wise, other than Paul Costa, when he can make weight.
Boom. Roasted.
So, this fight is going to be absolutely insane. My idea with this fight is if Israel, which I'm going to pick Izzy to win this fight, should be no more than 3 rounds. But this is a setup for another fight that's going to happen. And this is our third fight. It's this guy, Alex Pereira. This gentleman is 2-0 in the UFC. He's a former Glory kickboxing champion. And he's one of the only guys to ever knock out Israel Adesanya. So this beef is almost kind of being settled on this card, you have to understand. The matchmakers have placed Sean Strickland, who's a number 4 ranked middleweight, which is, in my opinion, for the UFC, a huge step for Alex. He has not fought anybody at this caliber in the UFC, so fighting Sean Strickland versus one of the top kickboxers in the world, versus, in my opinion, one of the best striking middleweights, one of the most grittiest middleweights in Sean Strickland. Fighting out of Vegas, he's in his hometown, coming out of Extreme Couture with Eric Nixick. This is going to be a huge key matchup. If Alex Pereira pulls off a huge knockout versus Sean Strickland, this will be the same spin-off like Yuri. He will jump directly to the number 1 contender, and he's going to get to fight Israel next. So I want you to understand this little pyramid that's happening. This co-main is kind of setting up Izzy's next fight almost. But we can't forget our co-main event with Alexander Volkanovski, the Great. He has 3 title defenses, and this is the trilogy match against Max Holloway. Even though Max lost 2 decisions to Volkanovski, I still think this trilogy is meant to happen. Max went back to the drawing board. He beat Calvin Kattar 5 rounds, hurt him. Then he went 5 rounds with Yair Rodriguez. So he did not skip the line. There was no privilege given to this former champion to get back to this title fight. I think this was earned. He laid it down brick by brick. So this fight is going to really put the nail in the coffin between these two. These are the top 2 featherweights in the division. That's it. End of story. This is the fight to see. In my opinion, I still don't believe Max has enough, what it takes to challenge Alex. I think he's too strong for any featherweight. I think he's so versatile. I think the same competition that Max fought, you obviously seen what Volkanovski has done to them. And he's proven time after time that he's that dude. He's the champ. And he's going to come victorious that night. He's a minus 180 favorite. And that fight is important to watch. Even when Volkanovski wins, July 16 at Belmont, Long Island, Notorious Radio will be there. We'll be doing live interviews. We'll be in the crowd. We are super excited, and that is a major card in the featherweight division. We have Brian Ortega fighting Yair Rodriguez. So the winner of that fight, someone's going to fight the loser of this fight and the winner. So it's like a trade-off. These pieces going forward are going to be really important to kind of settle the division with all these chess pieces, because you have the 3 versus 4. You had Cater, who just lost to Emmett. So the division is kind of figuring itself out. So unless Max pulls off the upset, then we kind of put the division back to the scramble. But if Volkanovski wins, Max Holloway cannot fight him again for a title. It would just three losses to the champ is just, it's enough for the fans. It's more than enough for me. It's more than enough for my team over here. We don't want to see it again. This is your last chance to win your title back, or I think it's done. I don't think there's a point going forward. Back to that co-main with Sean Strickland. He started in the UFC as a middleweight, then went back to welterweight. But then after losing his last fight at welterweight to the champion now, Kamaru Usman, he's been on a tear in the middleweight division. Super crisp boxing. Loves to stand in the pocket. He's one of the few guys who will rock 'em, sock 'em. And the matchmakers, Mick Maynard, Sean Shelby, to put Alex in that position, because catch-22, Alex Pereira gets knocked out by Sean Strickland. I don't see why Sean Strickland can't fight Israel Adesanya. If the fairy tale story is Adesanya's getting to fight out the former Glory kickboxing champion who kind of got little Dana White privilege coming into the UFC, kind of jumping the line. But I understand. It's an exciting story. It intrigues me. I know it's exactly 2 different sports. But in the octagon, they have another chance to really settle the difference. Nothing like some water. So these two are a must-see. I do not want you guys sleeping on it. I'm going to go with Alex Pereira. For this fight, I'm going to give him the knock. We're going to go with the fairy tale story of him fighting Israel Adesanya. He got the privilege. He's going to get the nod. Because I believe Sean Strickland will not understand how violent of a kickboxer this gentleman is, and how well his ground game has gotten. He strictly trains with Glover Teixeira in North Carolina. He's literally under his wing in every of his fight camp, in his corner. You will see Glover in Alex's corner. It's a strong Brazilian background. I don't want you sleeping on this guy. He's a killer, and this is why the promotion is moving him swift and direct. They don't want to play games with him. They don't want to even risk him losing possibly to someone not worthy. So all eyes on these two. These two help pan out our championship match. And for the women at flyweights, we have Lauren Lucky Murphy versus Miesha Cupcake Tate. And I think this is a really good fight for Lauren. She lost her last fight to Valentina Shevchenko. But other than that loss, which I understand she took a major beating, She has done very well in the flyweight division. She has kind of ran through the division, which got her a title shot, which was well deserved. Nothing was obviously given her by luck. And even though Miesha Tate lost her last fight to the number 2 contender, she still wants to fight the very best in her division. This woman had 2 kids, has had a former champion, has fought. She has nothing to prove. For me, her coming back to fighting the number 2 and now the number 3 contender in the flyweight division just shows that she's not trying to play games. She's not looking for any easy fights, and she wants to go out on her shield. Win or lose, her name is solidified in my book. She has my respect. She should have yours. And this is going to be a great fight. And I want you guys to really tune in and really keep in mind that this might be Miesha's last fight. So definitely watch it. If you're a big Miesha Tate fan like I am, definitely tune in to this fight. It's going to be the 4th fight of the card, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. For our last fight, it's the most fun. Shout out to Sugar Sean. He is back, and finally, he's getting to fight a veteran. A non-cherry-picked fight for Sugar Sean. Thank God. Finally, we get to see this guy scrap. He had his leg broken versus Chito Vera, and he's fought some hand-picked people that the promotion has geared him to, which I understand. He's probably wants to get paid more. He's bringing a lot of viewership to the company. But he's going to be fighting Pedro Young Punisher Munoz. He's ranked 10. O'Malley's 13. He's finally fighting. He finally can crack into the top 10. Like, we're dying to see this kid face the top bantamweights in the division. The Sanhagens, the Aldos. Can we throw this kid in with the sharks? Can he swim with the big fish? Or is he going to stay with his poodle purple rainbow hair and just be an Instagram stud? So that's going to really decide this opening main event fight. Is Sugar Sean really the real deal? Was the Cheeto just a freak injury that kind of derailed him, set him back? In his mind, he's undefeated, which I love. I love when a guy thinks he's never lost. I mean, he lost.
In fighting, on paper, I'm 12-1. I lost August 15th. I'm 12-1. And you guys, for some reason, and in my head, I didn't lose shit. I'm 12-0. I didn't lose. And you guys...
But he has a really good spirit, and he's a really fun guy to watch. He moves very unorthodox, really slender. He's really big for the division. In my opinion, he could eventually move to featherweight if he filled out just a little bit, and I don't think he would have to make such a weight cut to get down to bantamweight. But Sugar Sean, I'm going to give him this fight. I'm going to take him over Pedro. Pedro's on a 2-fight losing streak. He lost to Dominic Cruz, a former champion. He's lost to Jose Aldo, a former champion. So if Sean beats him, it gives him that credibility that he's longed for, that some of the deeper fans like myself want to see. We really just want him to be challenged, but in a good way. We want him to be able to show us his true potential in the octagon and not have the analysts and the experts even question his greatness, which I love.
Hey, this the next motherfucking champ in the UFC, man. The Sugar Show, believe it.
Hell yeah. Okay, Ray.
Cold with it, man.
Sean, this is Sean.
Woo!
Snoopo Malley.
I'll go to any alley with O'Malley.
Guys, make sure you tune in to Sean O'Malley, Poodle, Rainbow Head. He's going to be amazing. Don't forget, July 16th, we will be at Belmont, Long Island. We will be rolling deep. We will be interviewing. We will be interacting with the fans. We cannot wait to be in the crowd cheering for all our fighters. We are going to be at the Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. I repeat, July 16th at Belmont. And remember, this is your host, Mitchell, from Notorious Radio 718, IG, MBS.Radio 718. Please Follow us on all social networks, YouTube, Instagram, IG, everywhere. Like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait to see you guys soon. Peace and love.